Welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast, your home for all things Bolton Wanderers, up the Trotters, the Northwest's #1 podcast.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Fanzone podcast. Of course, tonight is titled It's Happened Again. And I think you all know what we're referring to there. Wanderers managed to defeat Wigan Athletic rather emphatically yesterday, although the scoreline was only 1-0. Probably should have been and could have been a lot more. Tonight, you're joined, of course, by a couple of usuals in Ben and Dan. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Very good evening, in fact.
Very good evening indeed. And, of course, given the fact that, it was a rather special victory once again against the non-league club from down the road, we brought Henry Hewitt to join us tonight for our post-match reactions. Henry, how are you this evening, good sir?
Fantastic. Is there any other answer after yesterday?
Not really, no. And I guess, of course, given your buff, for those who haven't listened earlier on in the week, a lot more upbeat than you were during that episode, I would suspect, Henry, yeah?
Yeah, you know what? After everything that's happened, well, post-Oxford, that is probably the most negative I've been on a buff, because I just felt really let down. But anyway, that's in the past now. To be honest, the reason is, Carl, you asked me earlier today, and the reason I said yes, and I've shifted things, i.e. put my kids to bed earlier to do it, is because I think this is the first time I've come on after a win. I think I've been on after a Wigan defeat before. I think it was the Stockport 5-0 I was on. So I can't pre-plan it because we will lose. I've got to literally do it on the Sunday, arrange event, and then we will win.
Yeah, well, that's how we should do it. So effectively, I caught you at a good time then is what you're saying to me then, yeah?
Well, yeah, and the fact we've just beaten Wigan.
Of course. Yeah, no, absolutely. Speaking of beating Wigan, obviously you're all here for our post-match reaction. And I say it all, there's currently 72 people listening and watching live. Good evening to every single one of you who joined us so far, of course. And good evening to everybody in the chat as well. Plenty of regulars in the chat. And of course, a couple of new people as well. So that's wonderfully appreciated that you're spending your Sunday evening with us. I can see why. So without further ado, let's get into our post-match reactions. And yeah, let's deep dive into yesterday's victory against that lot. Now, given the fact that Henry is a guest tonight, I'm going to start with Henry. And of course, I do recall you not being too optimistic, of course, going into yesterday's game, Henry. Where I think you predicted it. I knew they were a poor side. I'll get into my thoughts in a second. But I do recall you predicting a defeat. So I'll start with you, Henry. Give us your instant reaction following yesterday's win, please.
Yeah, I did forget it was Wigan. And I mean, listen, I know it's easy to just be like bash Wigan, but having kept a tenth of an eye, not a half an eye, but a tenth of an eye on what they do this season, yeah, they have been pretty poor. So we shouldn't have expected a battering. But I just felt mine was not on the quality. It was more on, again, the mentality, going off the Port Vale game where we just created nothing.
Yeah.
And it just looked like they weren't playing for the manager. So that was, to clarify, that was really my thinking behind it. Again, I did forget it was Wigan, but no, I thought it was exactly what we needed. Okay, could it have been a better performance? Technically, probably could have. We could have scored more goals, but I just think it was the mentality that did it for me. They looked up for it. They looked ready to battle. They controlled the game, and like you said before, Carl, it should have been 3 or 4-0 actually.
Yeah, obviously, like Stephen Schumacher said yesterday in his post-match interviews with the press, it felt a little bit like they kind of started the game as they meant to go on, shall we say. And obviously the tempo was pretty clear to see early doors. How much of an effect did you think that had, Dan, on the way in which we kind of went forward yesterday and kind of like dominated the game from minute one? Or do you think as well it's a contributor that they are a pretty poor side as well?
Well, I think when you get on the front foot straight away in a game like that, it's always kind of what you want from your team, isn't it? You don't want to be sitting back absorbing pressure early on and giving them any sort of encouragement, really. So I think going into the game, I was pretty apprehensive, mainly because of what we've seen over the past few weeks. And to be fair to the team and the manager, everything that we've levelled at them in terms of criticism, they showed the complete opposite, and they did exactly what we've been calling for them to do. They won the second balls, they got stuck in, they did the hard work in order to then show the quality when it mattered. And we've not always been able to say that, like recently, I don't think anyway. They were poor. Let's not get away from that. They were a very poor side, but they've not exactly been great sides when we've played them before, and they've absolutely smashed us at times. True. So for us to go there, and the biggest thing I can say is how I felt personally on that day. So I went to the game with my lad, and after there's a bit of nerves, obviously, building up to it, etc. But then as soon as we kicked off, I don't think I've ever felt so relaxed at an away game. I just felt like we might not have been at our absolute best, but we were just controlled it. Like, whether that were just the occasion and everybody got up for it, or it is in fact to do with what they're like as a team, I don't know. And obviously changed the tactics, but I felt that were really important. I know we've had a laugh and we've spoke about going 3 at the back, and it's, some people agree, some people don't. But whatever formation it needed to be, what we changed to, it had to just be something that freed up Cozy Adubere. And I felt that yesterday, the amount of times we actually got one-on-one with their wing-back is something we've not seen him be able to do for a long time, because he's always got 2 or 3 men around him. So you have to say kudos to Shuey for coming up with that. And I just felt it were never in danger. It really weren't. I know they had that chance and he flashed it across goal, but like Henry said, realistically, we probably should have won 3 or 4-0, but I don't think you can really pick at much, can you? When you go to an away game like that and you see your team just play well, do everything you want them to do and get the 3 points, especially after what has been such a wretched run of fixtures for us and performances. So, yeah, absolutely buzzing. I think the only way my weekend could have got better is if I woke up today and I had a full head of hair, but you can't have everything in life, can you? So we'll take the 3 points instead.
No, we absolutely will. Ben, what about you then, mate? Obviously, I know that you are very much a patient Bolton Wanderers fan when it comes to form and the managerial situation, and obviously some ludicrous shouts for Shuey's head last week. And listen, I get it. Performances haven't been great, but yeah, he, like Dan just rightly said, he just kind of reacted to that yesterday, and obviously he's done what he's paid to do, and kind of changed it to affect the game and the opposition. Are you a lot more comfortable now going into what is probably considered a decent run of fixtures and once again a real opportunity to go on a bit of a run? Because I think if you look at our next few fixtures, obviously Stevenage away on Tuesday. After that, of course, we've got a home game against Leyton Orient. Again, another home game against Burton Albion on the Tuesday. Then we go away to Wimbledon, and then we're at home against a very inconsistent Barnsley side. So how does that feel for you after yesterday? Are you a lot more confident, or are you still a bit apprehensive given the nature in which Wigan are these days as a team?
Yeah, I mean, we've all mentioned how poor Wigan were, and to be honest, I mean, especially with it being a derby game or whatever we call it, whatever they want to call it, whatever we want to call it. Yeah, they're probably the worst team I've seen this season, and we've played some poor teams. Yeah, they basically didn't have a chance until that one just before we scored, didn't we? Which it felt at that point when he cut it back to Bertoni just before he kicked it. I was thinking this is an absolute carbon copy from a couple of years ago when we had all the ball, all the chances, didn't do anything. They did absolutely nothing, and then nicked one, didn't they, late on? Yeah. But no, it wasn't to be. Put it wide, and we scored 3 minutes later or whatever. But yeah, to me, there was two major questions that we answered yesterday. Obviously, it's one game. Who knows what might happen on Tuesday night? We might revert back to how we usually are away from home. But the two big questions were: how do we play away from home? Do we carry on persisting with the formation and the system we were with, where we were struggling to score goals, never mind win games, and we did yesterday. We dominated the game. We had 4 or 5 chances. We should have been 2-0 at half time. Really, never mind win the game comfortably. And also was the mentality of the players, because over the last month or so, performances have dropped like an absolute stone in games where we should have been the superior team in every single game, really, and we weren't. So yeah, 2 big questions answered yesterday, because I think to a man they were all fully committed. That was a team playing for the manager. It wasn't a team that that had seen a big bust up in the dressing room, which I think a lot of people had assumed, stuff like that. And I mean, I think one of the big ones was Sheehan. Obviously, he was one of the 2 players that got dragged off just before half-time last week, and he went off booting the chair, was obviously visibly frustrated. And I remember last week thinking it's a very, very bold move from Shuey, because if that is kind of the instigator for Sheehan to go, hang on, what am I doing here? I should be playing above the level. And he leaves this, maybe he left this week after that. And to me, he's been one of our best players over the last couple of months. Do we go, what on earth is he doing? But no, he's reacted the right way, and he slotted him straight back into the team, and he responded yesterday with, fantastic performance, obviously the winning goal. So, look, it's one of them. I think when you're analysing what managers do like that, it's all about how they know their players and how they think they're going to react to certain things. Right. Yeah, and he obviously has seen how Sheehan is and thought, right, the best thing for him is to give him a bit of a kick up the bum and say, look, you're not undroppable. If you're not playing well, I will drag you off to change your formation just before half time. And it's obviously give him a kick up the bum. And yeah, he performed yesterday like we all know he can do. So yeah, fair play to Shuey and all the lads.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just referencing Josh Sheehan, I think obviously was arguably we'll get into man of the match shortly, of course, but arguably our most standout player yesterday. And if you listen to one of Henry's other buffs, The Last Word, Mark Isles did a great interview piece with Josh after the game, and I think what came across to me is how much he considers himself a leader in that dressing room. And I think one thing is for certain, this season, he has kind of shone as exactly that. In not only in his kind of in-game, he referenced kind of getting in the ear of the ref and stuff like that, but also, of course, leading by example in terms of his performances as well. The slack on occasion that he gets, I think, is completely unwarranted and pretty much out of order, really. I think he's arguably our best player. And yeah, hopefully that performance yesterday and that goal as well will help alleviate any of that nonsense in the future. We have to just hope as well that we're a little bit less reactionary when we're going through a bit of a poor run of form. I want to ask you all, actually, because obviously, Ben, it might be worth you giving your perspective as much as likes of myself, Henry and Dan are all kind of similar ages. Do you think that because your generation, I know maybe a little bit younger than you, actually, to be fair to you, have kind of only really seen us winning games in the last few years, that puts like that expectation like even higher because they're only ever used to seeing us win, as opposed to like myself and Dan and Henry, who have seen that kind of complete like up and down roller coaster over the years and kind of know what it's like to lose games and go on bad runs as well as win games and go good runs. How much of an effect do you think that has on on the fan base in terms of kind of that increased pressure.
Yeah, I do see what you're trying to say. Yeah, but I think that only kind of applies to people who have watched us for 5 or 6 years, maybe.
Yeah,
because I mean, personally, I started watching us the year before we got relegated in the Premier League, and basically,
you're probably a bad example, but you know
week
what I'm
in,
trying
week
to
out
say,
for about 10 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, people younger than me, or people started watching Bolton, maybe 5 or 6 years after I started. So yeah, have to be really young, really. But yeah, I know I do see what you're saying. We've kind of got used to winning 20-23 games a season, haven't we? And anything other than that for a month is meltdown territory. But it also comes with the expectations set by the owners, the fans, the managers, the players, that all we bark on about every year is going up.
Yeah,
so when we're not on track to do that, it's warranted, really. And to be honest, I am usually kind of anti-meltdown and calm down, you're all losing your heads. But I have been worried myself the last month, to be honest, because we went from, in my opinion, one of the best teams in the league, and a team that was at some point going to catch fire and push into the top 2, to all of a sudden a team that really struggled away at Doncaster, who were one of the worst teams in the league, and at home to Northampton was a pretty drab game. But I think the performances dropped off significantly enough for there to be a bit of a worry. But as we said, yesterday was the perfect game at the perfect time, because it was a big test of whether the team had it in them to turn up in another big game, another away game that we've struggled massively this season. And it's kind of, if you're going to turn it around, this is the time to do so. And they have done.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've touched upon already, there's several standout performances yesterday. It'd be really, really interested to get people's opinions on the man of the match in the chat. So please do that. Whilst you're kind of typing and hovering about with around the like button, if you could do us a massive favour and do us a like, that'd be very much appreciated. And hit that bell as well. I think that helps on the old algorithm as well for kind of alerts for when we go live and all that good stuff. But yeah, get your man of the match ready, and of course to Dan, Ben, and Henry, you guys have a little think about that as well. Yeah, positives all over the pitch. Not only just starters, but people coming on to affect games as well, which certainly deserve shouts, potentially as even man of the matches themselves. But I'll start with Henry. Henry, who are you saying is your kind of standout performer from yesterday's win?
Well, I think we're all probably going to say Josh Sheehan, so that's my answer. But to give a longer answer and actually look at the rest of the squad and the team, I think I want to shout out the goalkeeper, and I know we've not mentioned him yet, but just because, okay, if you looked at his performance, if he puts in that performance in 6 weeks' time, we go, well, he's had nothing to do. But yesterday could have been a disaster, and we all thought it could have been a disaster in goal if he lets an easy one. If he does what Sam Tickle did, suddenly that gets magnified, and he didn't, and he looked very calm, and the defence looked like they trusted him straight away. And I think last week when the 2 goalies came in, I think that added to my pessimism before the game. I just thought, what an underwhelming week for us. We'd lost 2 goalies, and whatever you thought of them, we've still lost our first 2 goalies, and we've brought these guys in who haven't played for years, from Fleetwood and Stokes' third goalie. It was just very underwhelming. So I think now, and I know it's only 1 game, but now I'm actually thinking this could be a bit of the freshness that we need, because I don't think the squad or the team is that bad. And I agree with what Ben says. It's a great team, and I've been saying this on the buff. This is what has frustrated me over Christmas is I believed in this team. I thought after we beat Cardiff, I thought we'll win this league easy, and then it's just not happened. So we've not got a bad team, and maybe this is just the little difference that we need.
Yeah, Great shout. I mean, the keeper situation. I think one thing that again, plugging the buff for you, Henry. I don't normally do this.
Sorry, what is this call? Are we on the buff here or are we on the fan zone?
Well, I
He
know.
can do.
I
He
can't
can do
help
a
it.
hard truth as well if he wants. Let's
Don't worry, I'll get to that in a bit. No, plugging the buff again. What I did notice on the interviews before the game was the interview that Mark did with the goalkeeper who started yesterday, of course, and he was very, very calming in his tone, and I think that's been referenced a couple of times on it, and that was shown in his performance, of course, yesterday, because I think he did the hectic things that sometimes goalkeepers do flap at pretty well. So yeah, reassuring that back line, of course, as well. They've got kind of a calming voice and whatnot behind him, who's obviously a lot more senior than Teddy Sharman-Law. In a very, very vital position. He's probably big reason why they made the change, and they've kind of held the hands up clearly, and that they've made a mistake in bringing in Teddy Sharman-Law. A bit of a gamble, you might say. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. Ben, what about you then, mate? Are you going for your man of the match? And try not to mention the buff. It's been mentioned 3 times already.
Only by you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have to stop you talking then, won't I?
Exactly. Yeah, I'll mute myself.
I've not even talked about it.
I know.
Good debut for Bonham. As you said, like I'd pretty much nothing to do shot stopping wise, but everything else he was pretty good. A few really good balls up the pitch. That one out wide to Kozadubi, a few up to Dolby that he won pretty well, which was my main gripe with Miller, really, that we just had no control in games because he couldn't kick. Whereas Bonham seems, one game, but it seems like he's got a decent kick on him. Max Conway has been mentioned in the chat. I think he fits that left wing back role like a glove, to be honest. We've been dying. I remember me and Dan talking, we've been dying for him to see him bomb more up the pitch like he was earlier on in the season. I feel like he's been a bit restricted the last couple of months. But yeah, him bombing on up the pitch and having an extra defender behind him just suits him down to the ground, I think. I thought Osei was good again, energy up and down the right-hand side. I think he's been quietly one of our better players over the last couple of months without getting loads of praise. I thought Farino stepping back in as well, who I thought didn't really put a foot wrong at the start of the season and lost his place due to was it an international call-up or an injury for one game, I think it was. And a toll slip came straight back in, didn't he? But yeah, Farino's been out of the squad for ages and stepped back in and was fantastic. Didn't let their strikers have anything. But yeah, Sheehan was Sheehan, wasn't he? I think I remember a couple of years ago with the season when we finished third, he was getting man of the match pretty much every week. But I feel like we were saying we've taken for granted what he does when he's on it. And yeah, a few times he picks up the ball and spread it out wide and could just control the game really. And when he's on it, he's quality. And of course, the finish, which tickled him a favour by diving past it. But yeah,
crazy that.
Yeah, mental. I know. He's had some games against us anti-tickle, but the
irony of that for me was he spent the last 2 years or so acting like an absolute buffoon with them stupid diving out of the way from certain chances that we've missed. And the irony of that is he actually did that when the ball was on target. So he looks like a right melon now, doesn't he?
I thought even one in the first half when Simon shot from outside the box and he palmed it straight to Burstow, didn't he? I thought he could have done a lot better with that. And Burstow really should have scored. And if he scores that, we're talking about a bit of a keeper mistake as well. So he chose a good day. Chose a good game to have a day off, didn't he, mate? But yeah, man of the match. Shout out to Sam Dolby as well. I thought quite often this season I felt like he's been given a tough task up front, kind of on his own, a bit isolated. But Burstow and Kozadubi were closer to him yesterday, and especially in the second half. There's a few where he tussled with their backline and won it, and set us up the pitch. I thought he played well. A couple of good chances as well. I thought he was, he did well. He was going to get on the score sheet, but it's going to come for him. I'm liking him in that position. But my man of the match is Sheehan.
Fair enough. What about you then, Dan? You nodding away like Churchill the dog there on the old.
I thought my head were going to fall off then. It will be. I'm going to say Sheehan just purely because, not only because he scored the winning goal, but when he's on it like that, he's just a joy to watch, especially in a league like this where it's not always the easiest on the eye, but he just dictates everything. He makes us tick, he makes us pass. He speeds up the tempo, slows it down when we need to, and he's just a class act. I'll pretty much echo what you two lads have said, to be honest. I thought Dalby was fantastic, and again, he has come under some stick this season, rightly or wrongly, I'm not sure, but he did everything what you'd expect like a proper number 9 to do yesterday. He won his aerial duels, put them under pressure, held it up for other people, and you got to keep it simple with him. I think we were getting more crosses in for him to attack, and that's going to suit his game down to a T. Farino coming out of the cold like that, I think he's great in a back three where he's got like the protection of two of the wider centre halves. Again, he's just an absolute beast, and he won pretty much every header, I think, that I can remember, shoving people out the way, left, right and centre. He's not the greatest on the ball, but I don't think he has to be when you've got Tolly and John all next to him.
No, I think he's in the Santos mould, isn't he, where anything in the air he'll head away and he'll battle with any striker that tries to get past him. But put him in back three and he don't have to do too much on the ball and he's sorted. Yeah, exactly.
And you're not going to get him like getting dragged out of position with a fullback going missing or anything. So I thought it were a good call for him. But honestly, I were even impressed with the subs. I thought McAtee showed bags of energy when he came on, and Dempsey, and I think it was the right time for them to come on. So I know we've raised questions in past about Shuey's substitution timings, but I think he got it bang on yesterday. I thought they were both good, and I'd love to see McAtee more in the team, to be honest, because I am a fan of him. But yeah, they were good. You spoilt for choice. I thought there were so many good players, good performances yesterday. Again, Ossie Tutu. I agree. He has gone under the radar, but he's been very consistent for us for quite a while now. And Josh Sheehan. Absolutely. I can't disagree with you lads on that one. Josh Sheehan were great.
I'll give my 2 pence. Clearly, it's Josh Sheehan. It's a bit of a resounding vote, really, in that respect. But I'm going to give it to Chris Farino, to be honest, because I think one thing that Shuey said after the game was they really didn't want it to allow to become a scrap on a poor pitch. The way in which they were going to get it to be a scrap, was to try and target our defence early. And of course, like you lads have just touched upon, Farino won absolutely everything, which allowed us then to play our football through the middle of the park and allow Josh Sheehan to be as dominant as he was in terms of controlling the game. Because Farino won absolutely everything, didn't he, early? And I think he was pretty tidy just in and around kind of the box as well, when necessary and when needed. He just used the ball correctly and didn't do anything daft. I think sometimes you can question his concentration from time to time. I think that sometimes lets him down a little bit if it's a really big criticism, I guess. But yesterday he was on it. Clearly he wanted it. Clearly it meant a lot. Obviously, I think the fact that he scored the winning goal last season and I think the reaction at the end of the game from him, as well as Jono, of course, was a bit of an indication of how much he wanted to win that game yesterday. And it showed his performance. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. Like you said, McAtee as well, and Carl Dempsey came off and gave us that energy, didn't they, to kind of allow us to get over the line. Sam Dalby were excellent. I don't think he really had many chances that you might say that would like good chances. I think the two that he really had were some that he'd made kind of himself by good movement and whatnot. And he was really unlucky not to see one of them at the back of the net. Really good performance. A proper old school kind of centre forward performance that as well. Great back to goal work. Bringing people into play. Early was great, decent on the ball, decent enough on the ball. I think, like you said, Ben, it helped that Mario were close by, and of course, Mason Burstow again were close by you again. A lot of hard work, a lot of running yesterday that people don't necessarily see from Mason. I think he just needs one off his backside done as soon as possible, really. And obviously, Josh were great, but like I said, I think he were allowed to be good because of the defensive line, and in particular, Farino. So long way going about saying Chris Farino as the man of the match for me personally, but as you've all said, Josh Sheehan is the man of the match and very well deserved. Now, Mr. Gaffer, the Gaffer's notebook, Callum, has been a little bit critical of the Wanderers in recent weeks. I haven't watched the Gaffer's notebook tonight. I usually do, but let's see what he has to say about yesterday's victory against Wigan.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Gaffer's Notebook with the Stat Man. And today we're of course going to review the 1-0 win against Wigan Athletic. Can you believe it? I cannot, I'll tell you that for free. Now, let me break down what we're going to cover in today's segment. So, the change of formation, Cozy Dubry's role in said formation and who should play in the similar position, which we'll come on to in a bit. And then how much better was the performance actually than it has been? Probably not the answer that you're looking for, but still, we're going to go to the tactics board straight away. It's a bit different. We normally do it last, but we're going to go to it first, okay? Big point. So this was pretty much the formation that you used. Now, I should say, there was a bit of fluidity in the front three. Sometimes they look like this, with Burstow and Dolby up front and Cozy Dubry as number 10. Sometimes they look like Cozy Dubry out wide, Dolby in the middle, and Burstow playing in a similar position on the left. Now, should Burstow be playing in that kind of position? Probably not. Is he better at it than Dolby? Definitely. Dolby is much more of the focal point in this system, and Burstow is definitely better peeling off the defence and going into a pocket. But is he the right man for that role? I'm not so sure. I wouldn't mind seeing Mr. McAtee in that role, to be fair. Another thing, when we're playing this back three here, and obviously the left back is asked to push on, put across into the box. Conway is great at that. Don't get it twisted. I'm not too sure the conditions of his deal in the summer, but is there a way back for Mr. Sean? I don't actually know if he's still contracted. I'm pretty sure he's still contracted, isn't he? He went on loan, I'm pretty sure. And if he didn't, my bad. But he'd be perfect for this system, would he not? Remember how good he was last season. But the main things about this formation, the advantages of playing this formation is the box that you create in midfield. I mean, you can see it here. Quite literally, just a square. There you go. And the reason that you play a box in midfield is to overload the opposition, because most teams play a midfield 3, which of course is less than 4. Doesn't take a great mathematician to work that out. But the main thing that we're on the tax board for is Cozy Dubry's role. So let's have a look at his stats from the game, shall we? 2 chances created, which is pretty good. 2 shots, 1 off target, 1 block, so not great. 9 touches in the opposition's box, 3 out of 3 dribbles completed. 4 passes into the final third. Now, you may think, Statman, you're about to be a hypocrite here, and I'm not. I prefer Cozy Dubry out here on the wing, as I always say. However, playing this formation, I don't mind Cozy Dubry inside, okay? Because the problem in the old one, in the 4-2-3-1, is he was starting the game out here on the wing, and it was a back 4, midfield 3, like this. Something like that, roughly. And what was happening is Cozy Dubry was tucking in here, and there wasn't really anything in this sort of area here. Yes, the right back pushed on sometimes, but not enough for it to actually be a tactic, if you understand what I'm trying to say. However, in this formation, you have to pardon me burping there, I do apologise, I've just had me tea. In this formation, it makes a lot of sense for him to be in that kind of area, because, as we saw against Wigan, he can still peel out to these kind of areas, and he can combine with OC Tutu, who was playing at right back, and they did a lot of rotations, and you had a lot of times where OC Tutu was on the wing and didn't really have anything on. Cozy Dubry dropped off, and then he ran at the defence, which is of course what he's good at. So I don't mind it. Yes, I prefer him out wide, but if you're going to play this formation, that is where you have to play him. You could play him on the left, and then he could make these, he'd be from deeper, he'd make these type of runs, which would be interesting, because he'd still end up in the same sort of zone that he would be anyway. But he'd just, if he got played the ball in here, he'd be on a stronger foot. It's something to consider. I probably wouldn't do it, but it's an option. We're going to leave the tactics board there, and we're going to go back to me notes, okay? Was it actually any better? Let me read out some stats. You had 16 shots, 3 big chances. Sounds good. Having shots and creating big chances, as much as it kind of has been, hasn't really been your problem, because you have had a lot of shots recently, and you've still created big chances before the opposition concede. When the opposition score, sorry. When the opposition score, your head immediately goes, and it's game over. We'll go a few more stats. Only 4 shots of yours were on target, and you missed all 3 big chances. So attacking-wise, it wasn't really better. Sheehan just scored a good goal. To be honest, that's probably not what you want to hear, but this is the confidence boost that can take you into performing much better in the attacking areas, to be fair. Defensively, though, it was better. Because Wigan had just 6 shots. I don't believe any of them were on target. I could be wrong. Pretty easy game for the new keeper. So that is the upside. But, yeah, it's the attacking issues. How do you solve them? Signing a good sort of creator who can play in the left pocket. You've got Cozy Dubry in the right pocket, and you have the left creator in that pocket. Would be good, signing that type of man. In this formation, to be fair, I can see McAtee coming back. Because this is like the type of thing that is exactly him. It's just whether his head's in it or not. And it's the same with Randall. That's literally the place you want to play. So give him a game. Prove yourself. If you don't see the bit, mate, you might as well go. So I'll let you enjoy the rest of the show, and I may have brought the mood down a little bit there, but let's get it right back up, because what a result. It's not always how you play, it's just winning, innit? So, yeah, enjoy the rest of the show, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
Top man, stat man. That was interesting, that. I saw Ben in the background nodding away, like no tomorrow. The way we played yesterday, Everett tried it, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
The formation,
with Collins and McAtee.
Yeah,
if I remember
said Sheehan
rightly.
couldn't play in a 2. That's what everyone said, didn't they? If you remember back then.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think it helps that you've gone up a notch with a few of the players. I think specifically, obviously, Mario and Mason Burstow in that sense.
I think it helps, Cole, to be fair as well, when you're actually crossing the ball and not just keeping possession.
Yeah.
I think there's ways to play, isn't there, in formations? You can set a formation and play it a million different ways if you want to. But if you're going to get your wing backs, who essentially are going to be very important to the way you play, you want them getting forward and getting crosses in. But like you say, we have the luxury, really, of having a player like Cozy Dubry, who, if you think back then, we were playing sort of, I mean, McAtee and Randall and Lolos really were signed to play them. And we even had Scott Arfield playing them. So, yeah, it's different players, isn't it? Different players.
Yeah,
and
of course it is.
Yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be that style, does it?
Yeah, I think it helped, as you say, different players up front, but it's players that you can back them to keep hold of the ball when if you go along, you back Dolby and Burstow to keep hold of the ball. If you pin Cozy Dubry into a corner, you back him to bring it down and take on the man or keep possession. Whereas I feel like all of Collins, Charles, and McAtee when he played in the Lolas were all like kind of too similar and too erratic to kind of, they want the ball and take someone on and have a shot from 30 yards or I don't think any of them were like careful enough on the ball to be able to like keep hold of it and bring it into play.
I think if you look at them through as individuals, you've obviously got Aaron Collins, who, like you said, he was just wanted to shoot on sight, didn't he, whenever he got the opportunity. John McAtee just come from Barnsley playing as like a 9.5 off Devante Cole, and Lolos, who you might as well have me in the 10 role, and Lolos, like, he was just a complete waste of space, weren't he? So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, really. And he got sent off yesterday, didn't he? As I think as Brando's just mentioned in the chat. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, just something on Statman's thing. Obviously, you mentioned about the formation change and Cozy Dubry being a bit more of a free role, which is what I've been asking for the past month, to play him behind, and what Dan's been asking for is playing a 5-back. So I think Shuey, he's either watching the pod or he's in the exact same headspace as us two. So but I think Cozy Dubry showed it. There was large parts where he played on the right hand side, but he also he had the license to drift inside, and he had that chance, didn't he, where he flashed it just across the box when he was like the left hand side of the box, and I don't think he'd ever picked up the ball in the box in that part of the box this season before, because he's been stuck out on the right hand side, which he has been great in. But it's nice to see him being able to drift around and kind of play where he wants, really.
Yeah, it just stops them doubling up on him as well, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
they're not going to send a midfielder out wide, and then if he's got that freedom, I think as simple as it is to just tell him to go and basically do what you want in the attacking third, it's going to free him up so much, and obviously for us that's going to be a massive benefit, hopefully going forward.
Yeah. Just one last thing before we move on. Obviously, Statman mentioned Sabi Sean, who of course is on loan.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is going to be an option as a formation, do we see Henry? Do we see Sabi Sean coming back and competing with Max Conway in that kind of left wing back position?
Yeah, but I think for me last year, Sean he weren't the worst. I actually fully expected him to stick with us this year. I mean, you don't know, because he's gone back to Hungary. He might have wanted to go back to Hungary. I don't know, but unless there's been a falling out with Schumacher or something, it for me, especially because the club, I remember, did a interview with him in pre-season, and I think if there were any signs that he was going, I don't think they would have bothered. So, yeah, I don't know really what happened there, but. Yeah, I mean, how's he doing in Hungary? Does anyone know?
Well, I'm actually as we speak, I'm actually on FotMob looking at his stats as we speak from this season. He's played 830 minutes and he scored 1 goal and got 1 assist. So he's playing. To be fair to him,
yeah, I think with Sean, I don't think he did a whole lot wrong, and I feel like he was a really well liked member of the team from what you see when we used to celebrate goals and stuff. But I think the issue for him was Shuey wanted to go with wingers, and I think the question mark was, is he quick enough for what he wants as a winger? Because he's probably not a left back, and he's probably not quite a winger. He probably is a wing back in terms of his skill set. So. Yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, if we are going to play this formation going forward, and who knows, we might revert back to it on Tuesday, but we're going to have competition for Conway, aren't we? That's got to happen, because I'm not quite convinced that he'd trust Richard Taylor after the Port Vale game. But,
no, I mean, I don't think he's a left back anyway, but he's absolutely definitely not a left wing back. So you're right, that there would be a bit of a worry if Conway got injured. And similarly on the right hand side, Christie, I like him as a solid right back, but I can't see him flying up and down all game.
He's not going to go get 2 games in 3 days either.
No,
let's be fair.
I kind of disagree to an extent on Christie, because I think certainly at home when we dominating the ball, I can see Christie in more advanced areas, and I think he's shown that this season.
Maybe I just don't know if he's got the legs to be bombing up and down like Ossie yesterday.
When
he'd probably be more right-sided defender, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
Very true.
So yeah,
I think he'd probably be really good there, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's 2 areas we need to strengthen if we're going to play.
He played there on his debut, I think. Who did we play? I think it was a Percy Trophy game, and he played his debut, and we all thought he was great. So
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a slightly longer gaffer's notebook than normal, but yeah, really interesting points. An excellent take from Cal yesterday. So thank you very much for that, my mate. 3 up, 3 down, or 4 up, 4 down in this case, because the legend that is Henry Hewitt has joined us. So let's do it. I hate that name, of this segment. I think it's a great segment, but the name's daft, and we've said it a few times, haven't we? So that needs to be addressed in the summer. We might have to see the corner flag come out for this segment. I think. Just with this segment in mind as well. This is, like as we said before in recent weeks, it's just a light-hearted bit of fun. Just kind of break up the pod a little bit. Obviously, three positives or 4 positives and 4 negatives from each of the people on the panel tonight. So I'll start with Henry. Henry, give us your negative, please, from yesterday. We'll end on a positive, please.
Oh, so my negative from yesterday, apart from the fact that it should have been more than 1-0, was actually, and it's not to do with Bolton. It's actually Stockport winning, because I just felt it was going to be a perfect day, because Huddersfield lost, Lincoln dropped points, Bradford lost. I think Cardiff are done and dusted. I think the best we can hope for is second.
Yeah.
And Stockport getting a late goal. took the shine off a little bit because I kind of put us in that sort of a bracket of 3 with Huddersfield and Stockport. It's a bit like with our seasons, it's a bit like that meme of all the Spider-Mans pointing at each other. And one of us has a poor defeat every week. So I think, but it was nice to be looking up. When I was recording my last word, instead of thinking, I think the week before I'd said I'd actually put money on Peterborough getting playoffs over ourselves after that performance. It was
think that were a bit rash, that Emery, to be honest, when he said that. I was a bit like, I was driving my car, I was like, sorry, did he say that? Did he say that?
Well, they lost yesterday, so yeah, it would have my cash out would have been really poor, wouldn't it? But I think actually with yesterday's win, if we can get a win on Tuesday as well, I think you start to then go, oh, there's hope. You never know. So it's actually Stockport winning. It was just a bit of a shame at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, of course, a victory on Tuesday night will take us within what would it be, like 5 points or 4 points, I think, from Lincoln in second. So yeah, listen, I think 9 points were catchable. It's just a couple of wins and a couple of defeats of the other team, and you're right back in the conversation, aren't you? But certainly 4, they'll start to worry. Have Cardiff had a blip yet this season?
They've had a few iffy results, but
will they have much of a blip to lose that hold on first place? I very much doubt it. Dan, what about your negative from yesterday? Your down, please.
A bit more difficult this week, isn't it?
Could be anything though.
That's why I had to go for. Stockport.
Yeah. I will be boring and stick to football, to be fair. The ref, I thought, luckily, it didn't matter how bad he was, but I think it just highlights the officiating at this level. I just felt he was really whistle happy for a lot of the game, especially it seemed against us. And obviously, we chanted a nice little number at him at half time, didn't we? So luckily, it didn't matter, but the referee was absolutely shocking. They just... this level, you just never know what you're going to get, do you? There doesn't seem to be any sort of consistency.
I think you do. I think he's getting a crap ref full stop, don't you?
I was going to say they're consistently crap, yeah. But, look, like I said, luckily it doesn't matter. So it is what it is.
Yeah. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I'm going to go along similar lines because no added time at half time again. I don't understand what's going on. It happened against Northampton, didn't it, at home? And then yesterday we get a corner. Well, pretty much from minute 44, they took about 30, 40 seconds to take a throw in. We get a corner, and then, at half-time straight away, I don't get it. And then, I don't know. It seemed like they went massive on time wasting and adding loads of time on, didn't they, a couple of years ago, and they've just completely gone the opposite way, where we have no added time now. So, I don't know what's going on. But, luckily it didn't affect us yesterday. But, it's just a minor gripe for me. I just can't wrap my head around it.
No, fair enough. Mine, I don't know whether mine's just purely due to the fact that I'm getting old, but I was situated, for those who haven't been to Wigan before, obviously most of you will have done.
Won't bother.
Yeah, you get the stands obviously split, and one of the sections of the stand, of course, is really close to the home fans, which generally attracts a certain demographic of fan, and a lot of them were obviously merrier than me. Like, put it bluntly. And they were doing me head in, to be honest, these young lads. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm just getting old here, me, because I want to get involved in the atmosphere, but I'm just not on it as much as these lads, to put it lightly. Just a timely reminder that I'm becoming somewhat of an old man, shall we say. But to be fair, even when I was like Ben's age and younger, I weren't really that into going wild, really, like at a football match anyway, to be fair. I actually stood there yesterday thinking to myself, do I not care as much as these people just to be so engrossed in like the willingness to give the opposition fans so much stick? Like, but I got questioning myself, to be fair. But
you're just probably not 10 pints deep, Cole. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah. What about your positive from yesterday, please, Henry?
You know what? I was going to go with George Johnson at the full-time whistle, but I've just seen Jordan mentioned it in the chat, actually. So I'm going to say just the social media content from Bolton's
Yeah.
admin has been spot on, and
Nice.
obviously the crowd celebration, dugout cam on Derek Clark and John McGinley. Yeah, you're going to get stuff from that if Bolton score. But I think the one we woke up to this morning with we've all seen what we're going to be doing all week, and that one, I've got to say, when I saw it yesterday on Friday, when they've apparently DM'd a load of ex-players and they've said what their Derby memories, which I've got to point out, I don't think half of them can probably read and write, so I think those have come from the admin.
What, the players or
themselves.
the Wigan fans?
No, the players, or both. So then I think Bolton's admin has just bookmarked quite a few of them, and been spot on. It's been very funny to see.
Yeah, great.
It's a great show, that. Yeah, it's a great show. And I like the fact that they just done it with one as well, just Josh, because obviously he won the game. So it's just like, do it with Josh and just kind of move on type of thing.
Yeah.
What about you then, Dan? What was your positive from yesterday?
Well, I'm really glad that Henry didn't go for the George Johnston, because that was mine 100%. I thought that was some absolute top-class housery. And
it's the most I've laughed at a football game in a long time.
It were just their heads were just rolling, weren't they? They were fuming. And when he went to edit the bottle away as well, that was just topped it off for me. It's about time they got their own back on them, because they've come in for some stick, haven't they, off them over the years. So yeah, to see him there flexing and giving it the big one, I was fully on board with it, and it was just a brilliant end to a great day, really. That. So yeah, George Johnston.
The thing that got me about that was obviously he was stood there for a good 10 or 15 seconds giving it to him, but all he was doing was stood there with his hands out, wasn't he? Right?
Yeah.
And they all, about 10 or 15, were hurling stuff at him, and then at the end of it, one of their fans was right down at the front, was kind of goading one of the stewards over and pointing at him as if to say, like, go and arrest Johnson or something, as if he was the one in the wrong. And I'm thinking, what planet are you on here, mate?
Honestly, funny that.
What about you then, Ben? What was your
mine was, I think for the first time ever at a football match, I spent £0 all day because
you remember your dad, did he pay for everything?
No. I'm a big boy now. No, I was out the night before, stayed with my mates, got the train home in the morning, and then I think it was about 10:30 by the time we set off, and I drove. So we ended up parking in some random side street that we did a couple of years ago, actually. So that was free. Got to the ground at about 12:10, looked at the queue for the beer and thought, by the time we get a beer, it's gonna be kick off. So didn't bother with that. And then so didn't pay for anything in the ground, didn't give them any money, didn't pay anything for parking, and so went home with as much money in my pocket as I went with, and we won. So yeah,
happy days. My up was and the chances of ever being sponsored by a Wigan-based company is very, very minimal. So this isn't a plug by any stretch of the imagination for any type of sponsorship in the future. But I used to work in Wigan. I worked in Wigan for a good long amount of time, and I very much enjoyed my probably daily trips on average to Galloway's Pie Shop. So I thought, you know what? Like the good old days, I thought I'll go to Galloway's on the way to the game, and I obviously got myself a bacon butty and a cup of coffee for the walk to the ground, which was very nice. But in my infinite wisdom, I also bought a steak pie and a can of Iron Brew for after the game and left it in my car. And that was a right touch, because as soon as I got back to my car, I tucked into that with 3 points, drove past the Galloway's, went, way! Like no, but if you've not had a Galloway's before, they're absolutely banging, by the way.
Yeah, good.
And they do a jumbo sausage roll, which I think Brandon's just mentioned as well, which is delightful. But yeah, that's my up from yesterday. So yeah, if you're going past the Galloway's, get it and leave it in your car for later on. That's my advice to you. Hopefully we've got some fan focus comments in the chat. Dan, have you been saving a few of them, pal?
Yes, and other people have more than I, but we have got six comments in fan focus. Yeah, so we're good to go.
Good to go. Let's get the show on the road then, and end with the old fan focus.
So yeah, Fan Focus, the section where we have a look at any of your comments and questions that you've sent to us throughout the course of the podcast tonight. We've started a few of them, so we're going to read them out and have a quick chat about them. So the first one is from Jack Halliwell. And Jack's saying, proper performance needed in a game like that. All knew their jobs exactly and executed the game plan to a T. Thought Bonham was superb on debut, calm and composed, and it filtered through the team. Just a quick one on that to you lads is that obviously we've been through 2 goalkeepers this season. Both have made errors at times. How much of an impact do you think it's going to take? I know it's only 1 game and you didn't have to do much, but having that kind of calm and composed experience behind you when you're a defensive unit, how much do you think that could benefit us going forward?
Not to plug another Bolton Wanderers podcast because there are a plethora of them out there. But I listened to the lads at Line of Vienna the other day on my travels, and they referenced the goalkeeping situation that we've found ourselves in, obviously before the victory yesterday against Wigan. But the conversation was around Teddy Sharman-Low's how many points are given away basically this season? And it was an alarming amount, like to the point where I think if we'd have won the points that he gave away, then I know a lot of it's hypothetical, but I think we'd be in around kind of 2nd, 3rd by a point or something like that, or not much in it. So to answer your question, I think it could potentially be huge because obviously, like that performance showed yesterday, he seems to be a calming influence on that back line, doesn't he? And when you've got, a couple of them who are from time to time capable of lapses in concentration, not to name individuals, I'm not going to go through that again. But of course, a young lad as well in Conway at left wing back, having a calming voice, an experienced voice in the back line, in theory, should help massively. So, yeah, that's my kind of thoughts on that. I think it should help you. I mean, I mentioned a week or 2 ago that we should look to get a championship level goalkeeper in. And I was played a lot, but he's from a championship team, and so yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's funny, isn't it? How I don't know if it's still the same after last week, but we'd conceded one of the least amount of goals in the league, and yet we're blaming the goalkeeper. But we don't give up many chances over the season. Obviously, take out the last 3 or 4 weeks, but yeah, you'd think if you've got a good shot stopper in there, it should be fine. And have we missed a shot stopper over what Teddy Sharman-Low maybe give us with his delivery? I think we could have done with a shot stopper personally over that. So yeah,
good point.
Yeah, Ben, have you got anything on that, mate?
No, totally agree. To be honest,
yeah.
Calm, composed head. Yeah, hopefully filters through the team. Yeah,
I agree. I think as good as Teddy were at certain elements of his game, you're not going to get 35-yard sweeping from Bonham, I don't think. But I am quite old school in that respect, where I do want my keepers to make saves. As controversial as that might be, but right,
madman.
Yeah. So the next one is from David Jones. Sorry to all the McAtee outers, but I think we need him. I think McAtee's somebody who he does get his stick. He's had a couple of injuries, obviously, hasn't he? That's sort of stopped any real kind of flow or run of games this season. But what do you think about that? Personally, I do rate him, and especially if we're going to look at different systems, I think he could be decent for us.
Yeah, I think he's in a similar mold to Dempsey, where he's the perfect kind of injection of energy you need off the bench when you need it. And I think he's done that in both the games he's come on recently. I think yesterday he looked good. And away at Doncaster, he was probably the only player that came out with a bit of credit because he came on and up the tempo, which I've likened to Dempsey as well. I'm not too sure if he's ready to start games and contribute from the start, because he can be quite frustrating. But yeah, when you need someone to come on and run his head off for 20 minutes and get the crowd up and, you know, try some fancy flicks or whatever to, you know, stuff to get the team going, then yeah, I mean, he created a couple of good chances yesterday. Did well. He set up that one for Cozy Doobie that I mentioned before. Yeah, I think he's if he wants to and if he's up for it, he will contribute.
I think my instant reaction to that then was like, I'm not sure about that, because in my mind I just think that he runs about, he'll try, but has he really contributed with goals and assists when he's been given the opportunity? But having said that, whilst you were speaking then, I had a quick look, and obviously I referenced the run that he went on kind of last season, didn't he? When he went on a pretty decent one, and I think he scored a few goals and got a few assists in a very short period of time. And that goal against Birmingham kind of stands out, doesn't he? And around that kind of time, he was flying. And there's no doubt that he's got everything you need at this level to be a decent player. But I don't know what it is. I look at it like this: if we was to get promoted this season, which players do we want to take on this journey with us, and who's going to be able to continue to keep us improved? And I'm not sure he fits into that category, but we're not promoted yet, so there we are. What were you going to say, Ben? You were going to say something then, weren't you?
No, I thought I'd highlighted one of the comments which asked that question, was if we go up, who would we keep? But
I really hadn't seen that.
So never mind. Sorry to whoever said that.
I don't know with McAtee. I think when anyone talks about McAtee, and I think a few of us have tonight, they say energy, and yeah, he does have energy. But the difference with him and Dempsey is that Dempsey offers a lot more, and he contributes a lot more.
Yeah.
I just think McAtee, he'll do some sprints when he comes on. I don't know if that's to get his stats up or not, but he shows a lot of energy. I can't doubt that. I just think, other than that, I'll let the start of last season go, because you know he came in and I think he just wasn't up to scratch, which again for £1 million player he kind of needed to be. But I'll let that go. Then that period around February, March time was great, and then since then, I don't know. He's just not done it for me. And even now when he comes on the pitch, yesterday was okay, but that's his best performance in a long time. And for me, it was okay. He played as well as any other player. So I think I think we've got to the point. We get into that point with Randall as well, which is another question. But I don't know with McAtee. I wanted him to work. I was excited when we signed him. I still want him to work. I do like him as a character. But it's just, I think for me, we've passed that point now.
I'm in agreement, to be fair. And I still want him to do well, to be fair, because he is a likable lad, and I'm sure he's well liked in the dressing room as well. But yeah, I'm with you on that one, Henry.
Yeah, fair. I can't really argue with that. I completely get where you're coming from with that one. The next one is from Matthew Rishton, and it's: do we see Shuey sticking with the 3-4-3 as a starting tactic going forwards? And if so, how would that impact any signings we make that month? It's a good one, that, isn't it? What do we think?
Well, I mean, it's worked, and I think it's all, like, to quote Angie, it's often horses for courses, isn't it? And it depends on who we're playing against and what the kind of tactic is in terms of how to try and, you know, defeat us, so to speak. But I think we all know now it's an option that we have, and you know, something that we can consider. I don't know enough about Leyton Orient. Maybe Ben could probably shine a little bit more light on, not Leyton Orient, sorry, Stevenage. Maybe Ben could shine a little bit more of a light on them ahead of Tuesday in terms of how they're set up. But I think that game yesterday just would have installed confidence no matter what formation we're playing, to be fair, because I think to pick up a victory like that after a pretty poor run of form is obviously, well, it flips it 180 on it, really, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean,
Stevenage.
I think Stevenage's form is quite bad, actually.
2 in 14, I think they've won. I think it is. And they're still somehow like 2 points outside the playoffs. But yeah, I think that sums up the league, doesn't it?
It's mad.
Yeah. No, they're a team that barely score any goals and barely concede any goals. I mean, before yesterday we lost 3-0, so it's going to be one of them. It's going to be probably similar to sort of Mansfield away, I guess, where it's going to be a sturdy defence where we have to try and break them down. So I'll be honest, I won't be surprised if we went back to a back four just to have more men up the pitch. But I don't know. It works, and that was our best we've performed for probably 4 or 5 games. So I'd get it if you stuck with it. But I think it is horses for courses. Whereas, again, I think in a home game where we're going to have 70% of the ball, maybe you want another midfielder or another attacker on the pitch and go back to where we have been so good at home this season, playing a 4-2-3-1. But yeah, I'm not too sure. In terms of how it changes our business, I think, as we mentioned before with Sabi Sean, I think we definitely, if that is going to be our number one formation now and how we line up most weeks, I do think we need 2 wing backs either side to back up Conway and Osei Tutu, because they're both good. But Osei Tutu's now gone a long time without an injury, and that's the first time he's done that for us. So,
but he could break down at any point whenever
I
he
feel
drops.
like it's going to come at some point. Yeah,
yeah.
And
like
Conway,
yesterday when he went down, you think to yourself, "Oh God, what's all this type of thing?"
Yeah. And Conway has basically played as many minutes as anyone else has in our team. So, yeah,
I don't think the budget's going to stretch enough for us to be able to bring in players and completely rip up the rule book and start again just because we beat Wigan with that formation. I think
I don't think. I think it means we need less players in other areas. As in, I think we desperately needed a couple of wingers to back up. But if we're playing with a back 3, maybe we don't. It obviously changes to wing backs, and I think we maybe need another midfielder. But if we play with one less midfielder, then I don't think we do. And same up front. I think if we're playing Dolby up front with 2 either side of him, or Dolby and Burstow, I don't think we probably need another striker. I mean, especially because if we're playing to Dolby's strengths like we did yesterday. So, yeah, I think it just shifts where our focus is, really, to a couple of backup wing backs, and we're sorted. But, yeah, as I said, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if, who is it at home on Saturday? Burton at home, is it on Saturday?
No, it's like Orient on Saturday.
Orient at home on Saturday. We revert back to the back 4 where we've been very, very good at home this season up until very recently. So I don't know.
Just quickly on Stevenage, obviously a bit of a plug to a preview show that we did. We did a double recording. So if you want to listen to the Stevenage bit, just jump kind of roughly halfway. I think half an hour, 35 minutes into that. But we had Matt Farley on. He was usual self, really pretty optimistic ahead of the game, but they went and got beat 3-0 against Exeter yesterday, so he might have changed his tune a little bit. But I listened to Alex Ravel, which of course is Stevenage's manager, after the defeat yesterday, and what he was beating the drum about is how they want to go back to what they're kind of known for as like a tough tackling, in your face, organised team. So it'd be interesting to see whether we match up against that. And I guess, obviously, with the fact that Carl Dempsey, for example, who personally I don't think he should be starting games, but maybe in a game like this, if that's the way they want to go about it, maybe having him from the start might be a good option. But but that's another thing to think about, the way that they want to kind of, perform as a team, really. But yeah, just to add to kind of the Stevenage thing on Tuesday, really.
I think that game's our biggest game of the season now, because I think if we win, there's momentum there. If we lose, it just completely goes, and we're back.
Everything that you've done is not with the carrot in it.
Yeah.
Yesterday, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I read out the fixtures earlier on just to kind of go through them again. Obviously, Stevenage on Tuesday, Orient on Saturday, Burton at home on the Tuesday, Wimbledon away on the Saturday, and then Barnsley, who I said before are very inconsistent, and I'm sure there still will be by the time we play them on the 7th of February. But out of them 5 games, how many points are we expecting, Henry, do you think, go off the back of that yesterday?
I honestly don't know. I don't know what it's like. As great as it was yesterday, there's still a part of me that is like, right, come on, you've got to show that you can push on now. And it was just a blip. I think if you look at it on paper, you'd say we can win tomorrow, Tuesday. Yeah, Stevenage aren't playing well. It's going to be a crap game to watch. Let's face it. But
they all are, aren't they? Really, even the better ones are still a crap game to watch, aren't they?
So let's say we win 1-0 there. Leighton Orient will be tough. They're playing well, but like last season. We can probably get a 2. I think it'll be a tight game. I mean, I know Burton are doing all right, but we've got to beat them. So you start looking at, and I think we can. This is the thing. This team can get 15 points, but over the course of this season, when have we won 5 in a row? Even in the unbeaten games, we drew a few. So
I feel like we sat here just before Christmas with our mouths watering at the fixtures over the festive period, thinking could be 4 out of 4 here, and we won 1 in the 93rd minute. So
yeah. So I'm gonna just say 10 because I just don't know with this team.
Yeah. What about you, Dan? What are you thinking with them fixtures?
Well, I'm very hesitant to say anything because, like Ben just said, over Christmas we were getting 12 points out of 12, and we absolutely crapped the bed. So I'll take. I don't know what I'd take. Just don't be rubbish and try and win more. That's my outlook on it. Basically, I'm not going to give a prediction because I'll look like a mug either way. So, but just win.
Yeah, I think I'm somewhere in between of both Matthew and Leslie, and then just kind of comments that have just come in the chat now. And I think I'd take 9 and go from there. Yeah, to be fair, after the recent form, and let's not get carried away. We've only won one. Well, we've won more than one game, Leslie. But yeah, I know what you mean. We've won one game in nice fashion, shall we say? But yeah, it's hard not to get carried away in it when you produce a good result like that.
I think the only saving grace, just to quickly add, is that the league is that bad that even if we maybe lost 2 of them, it might not matter that much, just because of other teams. That's the only thing I'd say on it.
Yeah.
Is that it for Fan Focus?
It's your segment, mate. If you think it's wrapped up, then yeah, don't mind either way.
Yeah, I'm just conscious of time. That's all.
Yeah. HR, luckily, HR's on the other side of the planet, so it's too much.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for all your comments. Apologies to the ones that didn't get read out there, but I do appreciate them. And it's obviously great to see so many people in and contributing to the chat after a great win for us yesterday.
Yeah. And just before I forget, and before we do wrap up tonight, speaking of yesterday and the whole debacle around playing them lot, I don't know whether anybody's seen it, but the wondrous Luke Robinson on Twitter kindly sent me the video that he'd used AI to create a montage of Wigan fans' verbal diarrhea ahead of yesterday's game and verbal diarrhea after yesterday's game, and put it into some kind of weird and wonderful song, which listen, it's amazing. So we tried to upload it onto the platform, but we couldn't do it. It wouldn't allow us. I think it must be a file issue. Unfortunately, we really wanted to play out the podcast tonight to the song, but it just weren't for happening, unfortunately. But I would encourage all of you to jump on socials and listen to that if you want a little bit of a Sunday evening laugh, or even listen to it tomorrow when you're depressed because you're back in work on Monday. But yeah, whatever. But kind of goes without saying, of course, the usuals. Dan, Ben, thank you very much for being on tonight.
Thank you.
And of course, as ever, Henry, you're welcome whenever you want to. But thank you very much for joining us tonight, mate. Really appreciate your time.
No problem. Anytime, especially after a win, which is, I think, the first time I've been on after a win.
Yeah. And it's an opportunity to get your kids to sleep early as well, isn't it? So, winner.
Well, yeah, there's that as well. So, yeah, I'll do a podcast every night and I'll be here.
Excellent stuff. Thanks very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and we'll see you on Wednesday night for the post-match reaction after the Stevenage game. See you soon.
Cheers.
Take care.
Yeah, unreal. Boys